Amon-Ra St. Brown, Aiden Hutchinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jared Goff. All anyone has been talking about this offseason has been the Lions' fall-off, losing both their offensive and defensive coordinator in one fell swoop, a decline embodied by a catastrophic playoff collapse as the 1 seed. But what if I told you the Detroit Lions will be even better in 2025? That's right. With an embarrassment of riches on their roster, under the guidance of the league's most beloved head coach, backed by a more than competent front office, these 2025 Detroit Lions are not normal. Now, it will be difficult to top their 15-2 record from 2024. After all, that win total was one of many franchise records they set last season, along with most points scored and most touchdowns in club history. Detroit also won every single road game and swept a tough NFC North division for the first time ever. They did all of that while playing the most electrifying offensive football in the league. Their trick plays did the rounds on social media as they were the highest scoring offense in the NFL, all masterminded by Ben Johnson. For the first time ever, the Detroit Lions were the NFC 1 seed. However, it all came to a screeching halt against Washington in the divisional round. The high-flying offense committed an egregious 5 turnovers, and just as soon as Detroit were named Super Bowl favorites, all of their hype vanished. To rub salt in the wound, not long later, offensive coordinator Ben Johnson took the head coaching gig in Chicago. His replacement? John Morton. As the pass game coordinator for the Denver Broncos over the past 2 seasons and a longtime collaborator of Sean Payton's, Morton brings plenty of experience to the table. His only prior stint as an OC was with the Jets in 2017, and although it was uninspiring, he deserves some leniency here, given the very limited weapons he had at his disposal. For reference, Robbie Chosen was his wide receiver 1. But wideouts are reportedly Morton's strong suit. It's no surprise that Courtland Sutton and Marvin Mims took huge leaps in their 2 seasons under him, or that Bo Nix registered the second most passing touchdowns ever by a rookie QB. Now in Detroit, Morton has one of the best receiver rooms in the game. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a jack of all trades at the peak of his powers, with back-to-back All-Pro seasons to his name. Meanwhile, Jahmyr Williams is an absolute speed demon who showed vast improvement in year 3. With a bit more consistency from JMO, we could easily be talking about the best wide receiver duo in the league. That's not even to mention the other pass catchers on this offense. Tight end Sam Laporta is a unique weapon who is a red zone demon. Entering year 3, Laporta stands to cement his status as a top 5 player at the position, with an offensive coordinator in John Morton who has historically leaned on the pass game. That's not to say the rushing attack will be neglected though. After all, Detroit is home to America's best backfield duo in David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. Sonic and Knuckles, as they are affectionately known, were a lethal 1-2 punch in the 2024 season. When Montgomery went down with an injury in Week 15, Gibbs stepped up in a big way. Both of them can be assets in the receiving game as well, with Jahmyr Gibbs proving exceptionally strong in that regard. He led the league with his 20 total touchdowns, 16 on the ground, and 4 through the air. That's before we've even spoken about the man who makes it all tick, a Motor City favorite, Jared Goff. A California kid who embodies Detroit's spirit, Goff enjoyed a remarkable 2024 season. The synergy between Goff and Ben Johnson was a major factor behind their explosive scoring. Even head coach Dan Campbell has stressed that the offense was built around Goff's skill set, meaning that with Johnson leaving, John Morton won't be expected to reinvent the wheel. Just keep what worked, maximize the incredible talent at his disposal, and retain number 16 as the center of it all. There's plenty of star power at the skill positions in Detroit, which haven't seen much change this offseason. One of the more worrying developments has been the turnover on the offensive line in 2025. Right guard Kevin Zeitler was off to Tennessee at the start of free agency after seeing out his 1-year deal in Detroit. The real shocker was when Frank Ragnow announced his retirement in June after 7 years as the club's starting center. Ragnow had a stellar career, allowing just 5 sacks in more than 3,700 pass blocking snaps with 3 second-team All-Pro selections to his name. Beyond that raw production, his role as a leader for this team will be hard to replace. But this is where the roster construction from Brad Holmes and this Detroit front office comes into play. The rest of the O-line was constructed to withstand such a shakeup. It is littered with veteran leaders and plenty of talent. Graham Glasgow is entering his 10th season as a pro, and from OTAs, seems to be back playing his favorite right guard position. Penei Sewell is a young but generational talent at right tackle who already has 2 first-team All-Pros to his name at the age of 24. The other side of the line is bookended by Taylor Decker, who has been part of the franchise for over a decade and finally earned a long overdue Pro Bowl nod in 2024. Through a mix of smart drafting and free agent acquisitions over the course of Holmes' 5-year reign, Detroit's offensive line was perfectly constructed to thrive on the field while having enough depth to recover from any losses. There is one major gap in the line going into 2025, as Frank Ragnow's retirement in June wasn't exactly ideal timing. Now, shock retirements are nothing new in Detroit. Just ask Lions fans about Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders. This meant that even though Ragnow ultimately made the announcement 2 months after the draft, the franchise was prepared, already aware of the fact that he was contemplating his future in the league. Therefore, with their 2nd-round pick, they made the astute decision to select Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. Ratledge mostly played right guard in college, where he was considered an elite all-round talent at the position who could challenge for a starting spot on an NFL roster as a rookie, a view which was shared by the Detroit front office. Throughout OTAs, Ratledge was taking most of his reps at center, all but confirming that the franchise had drafted Ragnow's replacement before the news of his retirement ever broke. The Lions added even more O-line depth in the 5th round with Miles Frazier out of LSU. So, in a draft where they preemptively replaced a cornerstone of the franchise and also brought in a dynamic hometown talent in Isaac Tesla on day 2, what did they spend their 1st rounder on? Well, if there's one part of this team that will unquestionably be better in 2025 than it was in 2024, it's the defense. With their 28th overall pick, the Detroit Lions selected defensive tackle Tyleik Williams. He may not be the flashiest pick, but taking an elite run defender whose numbers don't jump off the page this high is exactly the type of move that makes Detroit so great. In the 6th round, they also added defensive end Ahmed Hassanin from Boise State to bolster the D-line, before taking safety Dan Jackson in the 7th for even more depth on the defensive side of the ball. While it remains to be seen how the late-round arrivals will impact this defense, Lions fans can expect bigger and better things from this unit in 2025. You might be wondering how that is even possible after losing DC Aaron Glenn to the Jets. Well, the 2024 Detroit Lions were 7th in points allowed, but only 20th in yardage. That's not because of a shortage of talent, but rather an unprecedented injury crisis that ravaged the unit. In the opening weeks, they lost defensive end Marcus Davenport and linebacker Derek Barnes for the season with tricep and knee injuries respectively, before the death blow came in week 6 when Aiden Hutchinson broke his leg against the Dallas Cowboys. Hutch had been on track to lead the league in sacks with 7.5 in just 5 games. Instead, he had to watch his teammates drop like flies for the rest of the year. Linebackers Alex Anzalone and Malcolm Rodriguez, cornerback Carlton Davis, and D-tackle Aleem McNeil were all defensive starters who missed time with significant injuries. Considering the weight of those absences, which effectively decimated the Lions' front 7, it's even more remarkable that Aaron Glenn's team went on to lose only 1 more game during the regular season. Now, imagine just how good this defense would have been at full strength. Well, that's what Detroit will be getting in 2025. Aaron Glenn's successor as defensive coordinator is Kelvin Shepard, who has been on the Lions coaching staff since 2021. From the looks of it, Kelvin Shepard will have Hutchinson close to full strength for week 1 to lead a rejuvenated defense. Although Detroit lost cornerback Carlton Davis in free agency, they picked up DJ Reed on a 3-year, $48 million deal. Reed was seen by many as an upgrade, which feels particularly sweet for Lions fans considering the fact that his contract was $6 million cheaper than Davis's. DJ Reed joins a formidable secondary, opposite 2024's first-round draft pick Terrion Arnold, who showed great improvement over the course of his rookie year. Behind them is the league's most feared safety duo in Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. Joseph led the league with his 9 interceptions in 2024, which earned him a first-team All-Pro nod and a fresh new 4-year, $86 million deal to become the highest-paid safety of all time. Branch, in the meantime, enters year 3 ready to make a statement. He told the Detroit Free Press, "I feel like we're better than last year. We're hungry, and I feel like that's going to separate us. Our chemistry is on a whole nother level." The crazy part is, that's not at all hard to believe. Reports coming out of OTAs suggest that the defense is already looking better than the offense. Kelvin Shepard has had more time with his unit than Morton, but that is still a sign that the defense is poised to improve even further in 2025. The continuity on defense, which sees 10 starters return at full health, bodes well for their chances of holding things down come September, bar another injury crisis. While the offense may take a while to get on the same page, it is so loaded with talent that it's impossible to imagine them falling completely flat when they take the field against Green Bay in the season opener. The changes to the offensive line will require significant adjustment, and that may see them get out to a rockier start than they did in 2024. It would be unfair to expect the Lions offense to come out the gate with the same free-scoring football they played last season, especially when they face the second toughest schedule in the league. However, don't be stunned as they grow into the season, remaining one of the teams to beat in the NFC. They very well may not win 15 games this year, but they will be an even scarier opponent to face. Because for all of the losses their coaching staff has endured, the stability that head coach Dan Campbell and general manager Brad Holmes have brought to the franchise significantly raises the floor for the team's performance. They've laid the foundation for a new era in Detroit, turning the page to write a new chapter in the city's sporting history. The Lions are no longer a franchise defined by a fan base in perpetual misery. They are the poster children for the most epic comeback story in American sports. The only proper way to sign off would be for Goff to hoist the Lombardi in Honolulu blue. But do you think they'll be able to do it? Let us know in the comments.